This is VOA News. I'm Joe Ramsey. Palestinian residents of the Jenin refugee camp encountered scenes of widespread destruction as they emerged from their homes and returned from nearby shelters following the most intense Israeli military operation in the occupied West Bank in nearly 2 decades. The 2-day offensive destroyed the camp's narrow roads and alleyways, sent thousands of people fleeing their homes, and killed 12 Palestinians. Part of the Israeli government's response to a terrorist attack last month was an announcement legalizing and expanding Jewish settlements in the West Bank. The international community has called on Israel not to move forward with these projects. Linda Gradstein reports for VOA from the West Bank.
Hardline National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir called on young Jewish settlers to respond to terrorist attacks by building new settlements anywhere they can. We are backing you up, he said. Run to the hills and settle. The international community says all this settlement construction inflames tensions in an already volatile situation. Jewish settlers say this Israeli government has been the friendliest to their cause than any that preceded it. They hope that the far-right policies will finally put an end to talk of Israel withdrawing from the West Bank to create a Palestinian state. Linda Gradstein for VOA News, Givat Harel in the West Bank.
The UN Security Council debated on Wednesday the latest children and armed conflict report, which now includes Russian forces after the invasion of Ukraine.
Despite progress in some situations, grave violations against children continue to go unpunished, and perpetrators are unchecked by the national and international legal systems.
Special Representative of the Secretary General for Children of Armed Conflict, Virginia Gamba. This is VOA News, online at voanews.com. This is VOA News. Ukraine and Russia are accusing each other of planning to attack one of the world's largest nuclear power plants, but neither side is providing evidence to support their claims. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
The Zaporizhzhia plant is located in southeastern Ukraine and occupied by Russian troops. Citing intelligence reports, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says Moscow's troops had placed objects resembling explosives on the roof of several power units there. He said the objects could be used to simulate a false flag attack. In Russia, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov adds Moscow's making every effort to counter a great threat of sabotage by Ukraine. Russia occupied the plant in the early stages of the war, and over the past year, both sides have repeatedly accused each other of shelling the facility. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
International Atomic Energy Agency Chief Rafael Grossi on Wednesday vouched for the safety of Japan's plan to release treated radioactive water from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant into the ocean after he surveyed the facility. In a major milestone for the decommissioning of the power plant, destroyed in a massive earthquake and tsunami in 2011, the IAEA said on Tuesday a 2-year review showed Japan's plans for the water release would have a negligible impact on the environment. At least 28 cultural and archaeological sites in Sudan are being targeted or suffering collateral damage amid months of fighting in the country. Reuters correspondent Olivia Zelina has more.
Among the cultural casualties are precious books at a major museum in the capital, Khartoum. Sudan also has 2 UNESCO World Heritage Sites related to the ancient Kingdom of Kush, which controlled trade between southern Africa and Egypt at the time of the pharaohs. The island of Meroe is home to one of the largest ancient pyramid complexes in Africa. Jebel Barkal is a sacred sandstone mountain close to tombs, temples, and palaces that dot the course of the Nile River. Sudanese archaeologist and researcher Ismail Hamid Noor says those sites are away from Khartoum, reducing the direct risk.
Reuters correspondent Olivia Zelino. Police in South Africa say at least 16 people, including 3 children, have died in a gas leak. Emergency services, meanwhile, say as many as 24 people are dead. Police said Wednesday the incident happened in an informal settlement in the city of Boksburg on the eastern outskirts of Johannesburg. Police say 2 people have been taken to the hospital for treatment. An emergency services spokesman says the gas leak has stopped. Find more online or download the VOA mobile app. I'm Joe Ramsey, VOA News.
This is VOA News. In Washington, I'm Jeff Custer. The president of Belarus, Viktor Lukashenko, said Thursday the leader of the Russian mercenary group Wagner Group is not in Belarus but in Russia. Associated Press correspondent Karen Shamas reports.
Belarus's president has confirmed that the mercenary Wagner Group leader is in St. Petersburg, as Russian media claims he's there to finalize his affairs. Belarus's president Alexander Lukashenko told selected media in a meeting that Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin was in Russia. Lukashenko had helped to broker a deal under which Prigozhin entered a recent abortive mutiny in Russia. I'm Karen Shamas.
Belarusian opposition leader Svetlana Tikhanovskaya Thursday warned that if, in fact, the Wagner Group's presence in her country is true, it represented a huge threat for its people. Speaking in Rome, Tikhanovskaya said that President Alexander Lukashenko would use the group to project an image of stability, presenting them as a force to protect Belarus from foreign invasion, but to control Belarusian people even more.
Lukashenko can use the Wagner thugs, Wagner murderers, rapists, to frighten Belarusian people, to control Belarusians even more. Also, it creates threat to our independence again, but also it's a threat to our neighbors, to Ukraine and also to Lithuania and Poland.
Tikhanovskaya had challenged Lukashenko in the 2020 election and was forced to flee Belarus following that vote. The Biden administration announced plans said it will send cluster munitions to Ukraine to help in its ongoing war against Russia, in a move that will likely anger some human rights groups. The controversial weapons are fired from cannons and can release dozens of bomblets across a wide area. They can cause long harm after the fighting has ended. Cluster munitions are banned by 123 countries. This is VOA News. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken Thursday said the U.S. remains focused on seeking Venezuela to host free, fair, and credible elections next year, but noted last week's disqualifications of the leading opposition candidate from running in the election is a step in the wrong direction. Blinken was speaking to reporters in Georgetown, Guyana, Thursday following talks with Guyana's President Irfan Ali. Blinken was asked about a move last week by Venezuela's government banning leading opposition candidate Maria Corina Machado from holding public office for 15 years.
There are a number of very practical steps that the regime in Caracas can take to demonstrate that it wants to move down that path toward free and fair election. What you just mentioned, that is the disqualification of a leading member of the opposition from competing in such elections, certainly sends the opposite message.
Blinken said the U.S. remains determined to continue international cooperation to press the Venezuelan regime to commit to free and fair elections. Member states of the UN Security Council made a case for the deployment of a multinational security force to Haiti during debate on Thursday after UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres appealed to the international community to act now. Guterres visited Haiti's capital Saturday and said international aid has not met the impoverished country's growing humanitarian needs and urged more support for the humanitarian police to fight gangs. During the debate at UN headquarters in New York City, UN Special Representative for Haiti, Maria Isabel Salvador, explained the security force is necessary for the nation to make a political transition.
While the political transition and the fight against gangs should remain on separate tracks, the two are inextricably linked. Improved security and continuous political dialogue would bring about the possibility to hold elections, a critical step on the path to reestablishing democratic institutions and elected officials at all levels of government.
Tens of millions of people have signed up for a new social media app called Threads from Meta, parent company of Facebook and Instagram. It aims to challenge competing social media platform Twitter. Threads launched Wednesday in the United States and in more than 100 other countries. And Thursday, in a post on the new platform, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg said 30 million people signed up. Thursday, Twitter threatened legal action against Meta over the new app. An attorney representing Twitter sent a letter to Zuckerberg, accused Meta of unlawfully using Twitter's trade secrets. British tech journalist Mick Wright told the Associated Press he doesn't think Twitter has a case.
Obviously, I'm not a lawyer, but what I would say is I wouldn't take the pronouncements of Elon Musk's Twitter seriously. If now, as a journalist, you email their press office, you receive a little poo emoji as your response. So I think Elon Musk should be quite careful about the way